Is Donkey Kong Bonanza, the real main draw of getting the Switch 2, worth your time? Hello, welcome to Intermerifica, New Mexico, the channel where we look at things of wonder from the perspectives of faith and reason, philosophy and theology. I'm your host, Daniel Kelly. And today we're looking at the wonders of the culture, right? The Second Vatican Council taught us that we are intermerifica, among the wonders in the modern world, these wondrous things. One of the wonders that recently came up with one of my supporters was asking me, he knew that I had been playing Donkey Kong Bonanza with my son, and he asked if it was worth his time, if it's worth the time to play. Is it a good game? And I have a lot of thoughts on that, especially since it's the main draw of the Switch. Well, some people have said, right, it's the spiritual successor to Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey, it does take from Mario Odyssey Switch to, in the older Marios, getting a star was a rare thing, like in the classical 3D Marios of Mario Sunshine or Super Mario 64, where you get them at the end of like a chapter and it's very, very significant. Well, Super Mario Odyssey kind of flipped that, where you get moons very often. Sometimes it's a significant part of the game, and sometimes they're literally just on the floor. And I didn't like that because it kind of diluted the importance of getting them. But Donkey Kong Bonanza, as a successor, takes what was good about that and makes it better. What do I mean? Well, the bananas are all over the place. You get them regularly, so they're more like moons in that respect than the old stars of the older 3D Marios. But they're significant. None of them are insignificant, and I hate games that make things insignificant. Well, in this, they're all significant because they're what powers Donkey Kong up. They are the experience system in that, in Donkey Kong Bonanza. So I think that was a really clever solution to wanting to get them more regularly than you did the stars in the older 3D Marios, but still making them significant, and I think that's a really wonderful balance. Another thing I found is that Donkey Kong Bonanza is a successor to other Nintendo games, like, for example, Luigi's Mansion 3. Luigi's Mansion 3 I enjoy, but I think because you have all kinds of abilities. You've got flashlight, you've got your dark light, you've got your vacuum that can do different stuff, all kinds of things, and I think that's really cool, and you have to solve puzzles using those. Luigi's Mansion stumbles in that it doesn't use that all effectively. Sometimes it's kind of boring. But in Donkey Kong Bonanza, I think, is also a successor to that, in that you do have all these abilities, all these ways to affect your environment, but it never seems to get stale. Another thing I really like is, I've talked about many times, where these new open world games like Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, which I enjoy, and you can check out a video where I talk about Zelda Tears of the Kingdom in the description, but these big open world like Zelda, where, oh, it's really cool, you see this huge horizon, you can go anywhere you want, but it's kind of empty, right? There's not a lot of stuff actually to do. It gets kind of samey after a while exploring the world. Like, car oaks aren't a significant reward for doing it, for searching the world, and shrines are better, but it can get a little bit empty. Well, Donkey Kong Bonanza, I think, takes this concept of big worlds, because each of its worlds are very, very big, but also solves it by making them limited, right? To be infinite without limits is the glory of God, G.K. Chesterton would said. To be finite is the glory of created things. And I think Donkey Kong Bonanza takes what is good from that open world and puts more limits on it, making it even better, actually. So all those are really, really good. So I've been talking about what's good about Donkey Kong Bonanza. Is there anything that's not so good? I think, yes, there are a couple things. It takes quite a while to start up, in my opinion. The first levels are its weakest levels, almost its weakest. And so you can get kind of bored before you get into the really good meat, and the later levels are, for the most part, really, really good. So I think that's a weakness. Some of your abilities that are really, really cool become obsolete, which is too bad, where you're like, I don't really use this transformation anymore that I got early on. Another thing is, I think it's sad to say, it does have some levels that are really annoying, and just like Super Mario Odyssey couldn't get a forest level right, the forest level on it is, in my opinion, just trash. So too the forest level in Donkey Kong Bonanza. I think you should just get through just as quick as you can, because it's not very fun. So it does have these down points in it. So there's good, and I think the good outweighs the bad, but there's still one thing to talk about is it worth your time? Donkey Kong Bonanza is the big draw of the Switch 2 right now. And so like, well, is it worth it to get Switch 2 just for that? Well, and Mario Kart and other things. On the whole, I don't think the Switch 2 has a big enough lineup, and Donkey Kong Bonanza isn't good enough to justify getting the Switch 2 on its own. If you have other reasons for getting it, where you're just like, yeah, I want to have the new system, I want to support Nintendo, I have an opportunity to get it, and I might not later, all those things, yeah, okay, those could factor in. But I think right now, Donkey Kong Bonanza is a really, really good game. I really enjoy it. I recommend it, but I don't necessarily recommend getting the Switch 2 now just for it. That's a harder sell, and I'm not convinced it's good enough to justify that. I hope that was helpful to you. You have a great day. God bless you.